Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Bruce Sinclair.
I got a little intro and everything. And I have 20 minutes, it appears. Man, I better do some tap dancing or something. Welcome back from our second of two European-style 40-minute breaks. I hope everyone's rested and now has a little bit of caffeine in them. And I think you need to be, because we have Prith Banerjee that's up next. I've known Prith for a few years now, and he's an excellent speaker. He's going to be talking to delivering new value fueled by the Internet of Things. And so if you think I said value a lot in my presentation, just wait to get Prith. He's awesome. Now Prith, he's a big swinger. He's EVP and Chief Technology Officer for Schneider Electric. So please welcome Prith. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Thank you, Bruce, and a very good afternoon to all of you. I know you are all trying to get back after the break, had your caffeine. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you on this very exciting topic of translating IoT into innovations at every level. So I have been, as Bruce mentioned, I'm the CTO at Schneider Electric. I joined Schneider Electric about 9 months ago. But I've been working on the IoT topic for many, many years. Prior to Schneider, I was global head of R&D at Accenture, and I did a lot of work on IoT there. Before that was CTO at ABB, and we did a lot of work on IoT applied to remote services. And before that, I was head of HP Labs. So I've been working on the IoT topic for quite some time. But today, what I want to share with you is how Schneider Electric is translating IoT into innovation at every level. But before I kind of jump in, I wanted to kind of talk about, next slide, please, that energy, next slide, please. Energy is, at Schneider, we believe in the core belief is energy is the basis of life. I mean, we at Schneider Electric are innovating all kinds of technologies with this core belief. We are innovating on technologies to literally change the way we work, we play, and essentially we believe in the core thing that life is on for everyone at every moment, everywhere. And the way we believe in this is we try to look at how life is on because energy is on, and how we are trying to provide energy to all our customers in a safe, reliable, efficient, sustainable, and connected way. Why say? Because when we have these sort of large buildings like this, right, if there is a power short, right, there can be a fire, electrical fire. And to prevent that electrical fire, you need to have a breaker, a switch and a breaker, and that's at the core of what we do. We have been doing breakers and switches for the last 100 years. So that's safety. The reliability is how we provide sort of continuous energy operation through our UPS, uninterruptible power supplies, and so on, in our data centers and so on. So that's how we provide the reliability. The way we provide efficiencies through our different control systems, where we extract the juice out of making sure everything is running in the most efficient manner. And the sustainability is through all our work on renewable energy, solar, wind, inverter, storage, microgrids, and so on and so forth. And the connectivity is how we all bring it together through the world of IoT. So it's a very, very exciting area that we work on. Next slide, please. So before I kind of go into the topic of IoT, I wanted to share some mega trends that are facing all of us, which is resulting in increased energy consumption in the world. So the first mega trend is the trend about mega cities. I mean, essentially, everybody is moving towards urbanization, to the big cities. In the next 40 years, you will see 2.5 billion people on the planet increasing who are living in the cities. Instead of living in villages, they'll move to the cities. As they move to cities, every year, there will be 70 million people in cities, and that's like 7 cities the size of Paris every year. And all those people will generate more energy consumption. So that's one trend. Second trend is that of digitization, right? All the cell phones and iPads and so on that we have, tied with all the IoT-enabled things, the IoTs, the 50 billion connected devices, that will generate a lot of data and therefore consume a lot of energy. And the third trend is that of industrialization. If you look at the total energy consumption, 30% of the energy consumption is happening in the industrial world, the world of oil and gas, mining, metals, water, et cetera, et cetera. And that area is going to double. It will increase by 50% in that area. So overall, what is happening is we are seeing the challenge in the next 40 years is that our energy consumption will go up by 50%. On the other hand, all the government leaders met in Paris last year, right? The COP21 treaties, where we all agreed to the fact that we'll reduce carbon emissions, right? So that the increase in global warming is kind of limited to only no more than 2 degrees Celsius. So that we have to reduce our carbon emissions by a factor of 2. So increased energy, reduce carbon emissions. So we have to be 3 times as efficient in our energy consumption and energy efficiency. That's the challenge, and that challenge actually can be solved by the world of IoT. So again, I'm sure many of you have seen these charts, right? So the number of people on the planet that are connected to the internet will be about 3-4 billion, and then we have all these wonderful, IoT-enabled devices. There'll be 50 billion connected devices, and so the world that we are living in today is a world of IoT acceleration that is being enabled by mobility and analytics. I'm going to spend some time on that. But this is going to result in very, very exciting things about energy, automation, and software all coming together in this IT-OT convergence that Tanya talked about, right, in the previous panel, this speech on SAP. So this is the world that we live in. And what is the exciting world is, as we look at the challenge facing our planet, 50% increase energy consumption, by reduce our CO2 emissions by a factor of 2. This will be enabled by this IT-OT convergence of this energy and process optimization. So this is the context that we sit in today. A brief word about Schneider Electric. Schneider Electric is a global specialist in energy management and automation. We are a 27 billion euro company, and with about 160,000 employees in 100 countries worldwide. We spend about 5% of our sales on R&D, which is about 1.3 billion euro, with about 11,000 R&D personnel. So that's my role as Chief Technology Officer at Schneider Electric, is to make sure we are making the right investments in terms of R&D in these areas. And let me tell you, we at Schneider Electric have identified IoT is the biggest opportunity for Schneider Electric in providing value to our customers in the sort of different levels that we'll talk about, right? So Schneider produces a lot of products. We have low voltage products that we apply in the buildings area, buildings like this, residential buildings, commercial buildings, critical infrastructure buildings. We have low voltage breakers, switches, et cetera, and building management systems. Then we work in the area of data centers for the big data centers like Amazon, Google, Facebook, et cetera, all the power distribution units, the PDUs and the UPS systems and so on. Then we go to the world of infrastructure and energy utilities area, right? All the MVS, the medium voltage switches, switchgear, these sort of automation systems in that area, smart grid, and so on. And finally, the area of industry, asset-intensive industries like oil and gas, mining, metals, water, and so on. How do you do this distributed control system? So we span the gamut of low voltage products, medium voltage products, automation systems for building management, IT, as well as large industrial systems. So in that area that we serve, we think that IoT has a tremendous, tremendous opportunity. So now, IoT is not new to Schneider Electric. We have been working in the area of IoT from 1996, where we were one of the first automation companies to recognize the value. So around that time, all the automation systems, the SCADA systems, historians, and so on and so forth, used to work on proprietary interfaces, right? So Modbus, Profinet, and so on. So we have a little sensor actuator. We'll do a closed-loop control, but all using proprietary databases, right? And so what we felt was the world is, well, this is the IT revolution happening. We need to make sure all these devices don't talk to each other through those proprietary connectivity, but through the world of IP, right? So web-based stuff was actually part of the thing that we innovated in, and that gave us our Computer World Award in the Smithsonian Institute. So we have been innovating in that area through 2010, and this year we announced April 1st, our Altivar variable speed drive, which is one of the very, very cool innovations in terms of IoT-enabled variable speed drives, which I'll talk about later. So about 6 years ago, our company talked about the vision of what is called Ecotruxureio, which ties in the world of energy, automation, and software all being connected together, right? And we came up with an architecture which essentially we called Ecotruxureio, and we applied it to different verticals. So in the machine sort of industry where we build products for our OEM partners, right, for sort of pumps and conveyor belts and so on, we applied Ecotruxureio, we called it machine structure. In the world of data centers, the world of sort of Amazon, Google, Facebook, and so on and so forth, the Ecotruxureio applied to that was called infrastructure. In the world of buildings, building management systems and so on, all the devices that need to talk together with that common architecture, we call smart structure for buildings, all called smart structure building operations or SBO. In the area of power distribution, it was power structure. And then in the world of industry, for the process automation and so on, we called it plant structure. So we had an architecture that connected all these sort of millions of devices through this common architecture. Now, what has happened is in the last sort of 6 years, if you look at what has changed, there has been 3 things that have changed. First thing is mobility, right? 6, 7, 10 years ago, not all of us used cell phones. We did not have the smartphones in our hands and so on. So we did not really use mobility to the point that we do today, right? In the past, all our control systems used to have these big chunks of things called the HMI units and so on. So now people want to use their mobile devices, right? So everything has to be seen on their mobile device, their smartphone or the tablet and so on. So mobility is the first thing. Second trend, go back please. The second trend is cloud, right? And what cloud allows you to do is that open way where you can do data aggregation at scale. So if you are just in a building, or you can have the utilities uploading their data, the contractors uploading their data, the consumers uploading their data. Everybody can share their data. You can do data aggregation and thereby allow interesting analytics and software to run on that data. So mobility, cloud, and analytics are the new things that have really transformed this industry, but you all know this. So what I'm going to talk about today is, for the first time, we're going to show, so this is literally, we used IoT World to talk about our cloud platform, our IoT platform. So I kind of talked about the Ecotruxureio, which is something that we announced 6 years ago, right? But Ecotruxureio actually sits on top of our Ecotruxure.io platform, and it's about providing innovations at every level. So this is kind of the topic of my talk. How are we bringing innovations at different levels? So let me focus first on the Ecotruxureio, the 3 levels of innovation, and then I'm going to talk about the Ecotruxure.io. So as I talk about Ecotruxureio at every level, so they sort of think about the 3 levels at which innovation is being positioned, right? At the bottom level is the connected product. So I kind of talked about the switches and breakers and variable speed drives and motors and switchgear and so on, DCS systems. Those products which were not connected in the past are now getting more and more connected. So we have like 10 million serviceable assets, all the things that we have in our customers' hands, right? Those devices are all getting connected. So when you look at the connected products, an example of innovation is, so we have assets like, say, pumps or conveyor belts or fans and so on and so forth, right? So through the world of IoT, you can actually continuously monitor the health of that asset, like that conveyor belt. So assume that you have in a smart manufacturing plant, right? You have a conveyor belt. That is the asset, and you're continuously monitoring the health of that asset, right? The energy consumption, the speed, or whatever, et cetera, right? Now, to control that conveyor belt, you have a variable speed drive. That's like our Altivar process, right? So now this Altivar process, this variable speed drive, is connected through the world of IoT. So it's connecting through that, our Ecotruxure.io platform, right, to that end asset that we are monitoring. So it's that asset maintenance that is happening through the Altivar drive, all being enabled through IoT. So that's an example of applying innovation at the level of connected products in the world of smart manufacturing. Now let's move on to the next level, right? You have the area of edge control. And this is something that I really hope you all understand. we play in an area of critical infrastructure automation, right? So nuclear power plants or oil and gas or minings and metals and so on. In that world, when you're doing control, right, you can say, oh, I'm going to have all these sensors and actuators, put it, connect to the cloud, and up there, and we'll move everything to the cloud. You cannot do that, because in these mission-critical applications, you need to make sure that you have some control at the edge. So even if that connectivity is lost, that nuclear power plant will not go haywire, right? That oil and gas plant will not go haywire. So a lot of the stuff at the edge control is very, very important in the world of IoT, which is being enabled through some of the work that I'm highlighting here. And then we have the EcoStruxure cloud. This is the cloud that can be either on the public cloud or private cloud, depending on our customers, right? And I'm going to go and talk about the Ecotruxure.io cloud in a future slide. And then once you have that cloud, right, which is an open cloud environment that will enable applications and services to be built up on top of, right? And this is the thing that these apps, the last sort of 5 years, there have been lots and lots of applications that we are trying to enable, right, on this open cloud platform. This is the real value, right? And so an example of this application is Augmented Operator. You have lots of industrial plants where you really do not have information about that device, right, which probably is maybe 30 years old. You don't even have a good HMI, a display on it, right? So what we have done with the world of IoT is we can enable an operator, right, to go in, and basically we do tagging of all the equipment that is in that plant, right? And when the operator goes in with their iPad or smart tablet, right, goes in and through that view can see an overlay of what is wrong in that device. It can pull up all the instruction manuals and so on and so forth. So essentially that operator becomes augmented with the IoT technology to do really amazing things. So that's one example. The other example is that of what is called smart glance. So using smartphones and tablets to have very right at the time, real-time analytics of what is going on in their system. So that's the world of apps and analytics. The next, so let me give you an example of a real customer thing. So Duke Energy is one of our largest customers. They have like 7 million customers. There are lots of 72 plants and so on. And what we have done with them collaboratively is applying predictive analytics. Tanya from SAP kind of talked about predictive analytics. So we are doing this in the world of sort of energy automation, right? And saying, so what we did by looking at a lot of sort of equipment in there is we noticed that for a particular plant, there was the combustion engine had a temperature of 50 degrees Fahrenheit more than the normal. So that kind of raised an alarm, hey, something is probably wrong. So the operator went in and looked at it and had to replace all the fans and blades and so on in that system, which resulted in about $500,000 of savings to that customer. Over a year, that resulted in $5 million in savings. So those are the kinds of analytics, sort of value that is enabled through software, through applications and so on in the world of predictive analytics. Finally, again, that resulted in replacing these blades and so on and so forth. So lastly, we have sort of at the top level services that are enabled through these things. And there are lots and lots of examples of services, real area for innovation in the world of IoT. Examples like remote monitoring, where you have various assets, pumps, conveyor belts, and so on. Remotely you can monitor them. You can do engineering in the cloud, asset performance management. But I'm going to focus on the last one, which is energy performance management. Again, to give you some example, in the world of energy, right? So suppose you're in a building, you're in a customer, and you have different lighting, power, HVAC, and so on. You can monitor all of it. Then you can consolidate, analyze the energy use. You can, based on it, have an analytics and have essentially what is an energy advisor to advise the customer to act on it. So you collect the data, act on it, collect the data, analyze, and act on it. So this is sort of the power of EcoStruxure. Now, as I said, the EcoStruxure is the concept, right? Those are the innovations at different levels, but one of that was the Ecotruxure.io cloud. So let me kind of talk about exactly what that platform is. And again, this at IoT World is the first time we are showing how this whole thing works together. So very, very excited to share this platform with all of you. I have a lot of people on my team that are in the audience today. So Ecotruxure.io is consisting of sort of it's a platform of platforms. It's 3 platforms that work together. at the very basic level, we have this device intelligence platform, which is, I mentioned this thing of the connected products and the edge control. This is what that level is, right? Connecting all the sensors and edges and devices and to provide intelligence at that level, right? That's that device intelligence platform. Sitting on top of it are two things. One is the smart operations platform, which is doing all the business analytics so that you can do all the good things to drive business decisions, and the digital services platform, which does all the interesting services that are enabled on top of that platform. Now, these platforms work together by looking at an end-to-end view, right, where you connect your devices, you do all the device management, billing, and so on and so forth. Once you connect the devices, register devices, then you collect data. Once you collect data, you analyze on it. That's the really funky part, right, where you're really trying to find out what's wrong with your thing or not, whether it's predictive analytics and so on. And then using that, you act on it, right? You shut down a valve, you turn on this thing, and so on and so forth. So this is the engine. This is the heart of our platforms. So this is the first time we are launching, we are kind of sharing with the external world what this exciting thing is about. The technology organization that I lead, this work is happening as one of the most important pillars within Schneider Electric. But this is enabled not just by ourselves. We have a lot of ecosystem partners. Today in a press release, we kind of talked about our open innovation program, where how we work with people outside Schneider Electric. We work with ARM, Cisco, Intel, in terms of ecosystem partners at the sort of device intelligence platform. We work on the top of DSP with Microsoft, with ThingWorx, MongoDB, for our smart operations platform with IBM and Microsoft. I don't have time to go into it, but it's the practice of open innovation that I'm very excited about. I don't have time to talk about our business report. The only thing I'll say is that we did a survey of our 2,500 business executives, and we kind of talked about how much value they're getting in sort of 2016 and as they look at 2020. And the report, which you can download from schneider.com/IoT, talks about the 5 areas. I don't have time to go into it, but thank you very much for your attention. Life is on.
You heard the man, life is on. So, deciphering, smart, right? Within their industry vertical, Schneider is setting up 2 things, just like we've spoken about a couple times today. They're setting up the platform, just announced it, setting up the ecosystem. So within every industry, there's going to be a major player, or 2, that's going to set up, and they're going to establish a beachhead to try to be that platform for that industry. So energy automation, is where Schneider Electric's going. So smart stuff.